So, hey guys, you just heard a part of the 2005 John Ottman score for the 2005 version of Fantastic Four. We're not reviewing that film today. We're reviewing the new 2015 reboot of Fantastic Four by Josh Trank, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and my what I viewed as the synopsis of this movie today as well. So, in this new Fantastic Four film, you guys, Reed Richards at a young age, who's basically Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four, he came up with an idea as a kid to teleport things to other dimensions, and this is something that he um, came up with as a kid, and he kept playing with it throughout the years. And as he got older, he found ways to do bigger things and inanimate things and even living things that can be teleported through this technology. And there is a scientist at a big city that wants this technology. He thinks that it'll help them, you know, get breakthroughs. Scientific breakthroughs will come faster now because of it. And so they want him to join this team of, himself, his daughter, who's Susan Storm, who's also a part of the Fantastic Four. The son eventually gets involved. You'll learn why, Johnny Storm, who's the brother of Susan Storm, how he gets involved with all of this. And then because Reed Richards also involved his good friend from his childhood, Ben Grimm, in all this, who's also part of the Fantastic Four, um, since he scientifically was involved with all this since the beginning as well, he gets him involved with this teleportation technology. And then Dr. Storm, who's the father of Johnny Storm and Susan Storm, knows of a guy named Victor Von Doom, who is also very knowledgeable in science, and then they also get him involved with this teleportation technology. But as things are going right for a while, as the breakthrough is, getting bigger, and they're finding even more about teleportation and what dimension this leads to, things get out of hand. Anybody who gets into this world for too long starts having these weird supernatural powers that represent the elements of the earth, thus the Fantastic Four. And one of them, Victor Von Doom, isn't very lucky with this. And there starts a rivalry and friend turned enemy relationship with this guy that the Fantastic Four have to take on, while also dealing with the hardships of this newfound technology with the teleportation device that they have just recently created. So overall, guys, I really wasn't that impressed with this new Fantastic Four, and that's not really saying too much. I know a lot of people are already hating this film. All the early reviews were basically hatred reviews for the movie. So unfortunately, we really didn't get the Fantastic Four film we were hoping for, and unfortunately, I am going to probably join along with all these people who didn't like the movie because I myself didn't like it. However, there are some things here that I think I'm going to bring to my own review that maybe got a little ignored just because the movie is not really good. But there is some things here I think that could have led to a good Fantastic Four movie that I'm definitely going to bring up here in my positives. However, like everybody else, this is unfortunately a negative review for a unfortunately not so great movie, or a not so fantastic movie, I guess we could say in this case. For my positives of Fantastic Four, of the few that I have, Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm character I thought was appropriately handled. I thought Michael B. Jordan definitely brought the right kind of personality needed for Johnny Storm. Um, you can definitely tell him and Josh Trank have worked before. He felt very comfortable in front of the camera. He felt very comfortable with the role that he was taking on. Throughout the whole film, he seemed pretty confident for the most part of what he had to do. So if you're looking for another good interpretation of the Johnny Storm character, I thought Michael B. Jordan, out of most of the cast, kind of did a better job than the rest of them. Reed Richards has a bigger childhood backstory here, as you might be able to tell by the synopsis. And for the most part, it works. For the most part, it is pretty interesting. It is a little far fetched. It is kind of hard to believe at first that someone this young could come up with something this genius as far as science goes. But it's interesting. It definitely had an intrigue point, I guess, a good, start for the Reed Richards character at the beginning of the movie. Unfortunately, a lot of good things that they could have done with Reed Richards gets lost in a bad script. But when it came to his childhood and how he got there and how he found this scientific position that later led him to, to become a part of the Fantastic Four, that childhood backstory I thought for the most part was pretty interesting. For the character of the Thing, when Ben Grimm becomes the Thing, the big rock creature from the Fantastic Four, I thought the look of the character looked pretty accurate, and the sounds the character made when he like did small things like turn his neck or raise an arm or hit a tank with his fist. All of that seemed pretty accurate to what I would imagine the Thing would look and sound like in real life. So I thought for the most part, for the CGI that actually did work a little bit, it definitely most of the budget that was used for visual effects were probably used on the Thing for the most part, just because the look and the sound of this character definitely feel accurate to what you might suspect from this character from the comics. I also thought that Josh Trank had the right film tone here. It definitely felt accurate for Fantastic Four. It wasn't completely Dark Knight Christopher Nolan-ish, but it wasn't completely goofy, campy 1960s Batman kind of fun. I felt they had just enough of a little bit of both worlds to, as far as a film tone goes, to make that work a little bit. But unfortunately, all that good stuff that could have been used for a good tone gets lost in a pretty bad script. Now for my negatives, which is something that you'll probably hear from almost every video of this review of this movie here on YouTube, but I myself do have quite a bit of negatives for this movie. For the most part, this really isn't a superhero movie. It really doesn't feel like a superhero movie. I know it's a superhero comic book. I know it's based off a Marvel comic. I know they're using Marvel comic characters here, but it feels more like an Area 51 movie, to be honest. Most of the movie is spent with these characters and these officials who work for like this secret government base, and for the most part most of the scenes in this movie are shot in dark hallways and Area 51 like environments, and it just doesn't feel like a superhero movie. These characters really don't get to go out and save people from crime, and they don't really fight criminals, and they don't help the little kitty get off the tree and get back onto the sidewalk. They don't really do those things in this, and unfortunately, as a result, Josh Trank here really didn't make much of a superhero movie. He made more of a B-list science fiction film in a way. For the most part, the CGI in this is pretty god awful. I'm going to be completely honest. Specifically, when they're getting their powers in the movie, that's where the film really, really lost it in the CGI department. It really does not look good. It doesn't look like a 2015 film at that point. A lot of the CGI used in this looked like they could have done it back in like 1993 or 94, back when the unreleased Fantastic Four film came out. So bad CGI. For those who were looking forward to that, it's not really done here. And when it's done, most of that money was used towards the Thing when he's moving around and doing stuff. Everything else looks pretty terrible. There's also some terrible green screening in this movie, specifically when Doctor Doom is standing in front of like alternate dimensions or walking away from a portal and things like that. Really noticeable green screen. It looks terrible on film. Then we get to Toby Kebbell's Doctor Doom performance itself. Really didn't like Toby Kebbell's Doctor Doom. It felt very flat, very one-dimensional, very boring. They gave him some bad dialogue to work with. Toby Kebbell's a great actor, and it's really too bad that they gave him a really poorly written character to work with here, because normally he's pretty good. Remember, he was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes as a good villainous role there in that movie, and unfortunately he doesn't continue the good villainous roles in this movie. Terrible dialogue overall, just cringeworthy, didn't work, didn't like the dialogue in the movie. How's the writing? Well, it's terrible. It's not really that good of writing either. Kate Mayra's Invisible Woman, I really didn't buy her at all. I'll even go back as to say so far as to say back when this movie was first announced and they first announced who the Fantastic Four was going to be, even back then I was like, Kate Mara as Invisible Woman? Didn't buy it then, didn't buy it here in execution in a movie. Just very flat performance, didn't work. It made me miss Jessica Alba, to be honest. It made me miss seeing Jessica Alba play this character because Kate Mara really felt flat here, really one-dimensional, didn't work. There's also some logical and technical editing errors in this. This scene's really not really a spoiler. I'm just giving you an example of just how noticeably bad this editing can be at times. So Johnny Storm has a broken arm in one scene, right? He's asked to work in the laboratory to make up for what he did, and how he got this broken arm and so on. But The second they need him to work on something in the laboratory, that cast on that arm is gone. It almost looks like he didn't even break his arm. It makes no sense to why that's able to work. I don't know if that's an editing mistake or if Josh Trank forgot to film a scene where he is still wearing the cast or what happened, but it's a huge editing error. It's as bad as some of the Jaws: The Revenge editing, to be honest. Uh, there's more than just that, but I was giving you a non-spoiler example of just how terrible some of the editing is and just how bad the continuity can be at times in this movie. Also, the screen chemistry and romance in this film really feel forced. I really didn't buy into Miles Teller and Kate Myra being attracted to each other on the scenes where they're trying to do that. I really didn't buy Toby Kebbell's character having feelings for Kate Myra. Feels very forced. Feels very last minute. Just didn't buy it. Didn't buy the screen chemistry. Really not that good. So overall, as you can tell by this really negative review, this new Fantastic Four reboot gets a 5 out of 10. Really not a good film, you guys. You can just skip this one. Even if you're a huge Fantastic Four film, I don't even think it's worth renting at Redbox, to be honest. Um, really not a good film. Really wish it was something better than this. Like I said, there's a few small little snippets of a good film here, but we got a really terrible one, unfortunately. So just skip this one. Not a good movie. But I will see you guys here for future movie reviews.